One of the strangest moments in healing is when something finally feels healthy and your first instinct is to wonder if something is wrong. That reaction surprises almost everyone. You weren't taught to recognize peace. You were taught to recognize intensity. And those are not the same skill. If you've ever walked away from someone who was actually good for you because something just didn't feel exciting enough, this conversation could change how you recognize love for the rest of your life. In this final episode, I want to give you language for something almost nobody prepares you for. What aligned love actually feels like when it finally arrives. And there are a few quiet signs that almost every woman overlooks. And once you notice them, you never measure love the same way again. And here's something I think explains all of this. Your nervous system doesn't immediately celebrate peace. First, it often questions it, because peace doesn't give it anything to solve. And for a nervous system that's spent years surviving, solving can feel more familiar than receiving. So a woman finds herself in something genuinely good and quietly thinks, should I feel more than this? And here's the refrain. The fireworks were never the relationship. They were the anxiety wearing a costume. If you have something warm in your house right now, like coffee, tea, a nice matcha if you want, this one is worth slowing down for. So let's enjoy this conversation together. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm Eva. I create deep conversations, powerful practical tools, and honest reflections for women who want to reconnect with themselves and build a life that feels beautiful from the inside out. Because I do believe that most women don't need fixing, they need returning. So welcome here. I'm very happy that you're here. And before we go deeper, I want to say something that might genuinely relieve you. Maybe you've never actually been asking, do I feel safe? Maybe you've been asking, do I feel activated? And those are completely different questions. And they create completely different relationships. Peace is not the absence of attraction. It's attraction without self-abandonment. And if this kind of conversation feels like home to you, you probably want to stay here. So let's talk about why this confusion happens in the first place. Almost everything we were shown about love was intensity. It means the chase, the uncertainty, the grand gesture of the fight. Drama was the proof that it mattered. So our nervous systems learned a very specific equation. If it feels calm, it might not be real. If it feels easy, maybe I'm settling. So imagine someone tells you, he's amazing when he's not being inconsistent. That's not romantic. There's a warning dressed up as a compliment. Boring and safe are not the same thing. One is the absence of stimulation, and the other is the presence of trust. And in a moment, I want to give you the actual list, because once you have it, you start recognizing everywhere it's showing up. So let's get specific. It feels like sending a message and not wondering whether you've said too much. It feels like making plans without wondering whether they'll disappear. It feels like silence that doesn't need to be filled. It feels like disagreement without emotional disappearance. And it feels like speaking honestly without bracing for collapse. And more than anything, it feels like arriving, not chasing, not auditioning, not wondering where you stand. Something I've noticed in the women I've spoken to who've experienced this, many describe the same quiet moment. A realization, often weeks or months in, where they think, oh, so this is what I was actually looking for. Not a dramatic discovery, but a quiet one. And I want to ask you something honestly. Have you ever experienced this, even briefly? A connection that felt calm in a way that almost confused you at first? Drop in the comments. I would love to hear from you. I would love to know. I want to share something honestly here. There was a period where something good was genuinely happening in my life. And part of me almost wanted something to go wrong. Because if nothing went wrong, then I'd have to admit I'd never actually known what peace felt like before. So it took me a while to understand what was actually happening. I was missing intensity. I was finally experiencing peace. And I had never learned what that was supposed to feel like. And before we close, there is one thing I want to come back to, because I think it's the part that you've been waiting for without realizing it. Here's what I think is actually happening when a woman finally meets alignment. She doesn't lower her standards. She finally meets something that doesn't need to perform for her. Healthy love doesn't ask, how high can we climb? It quietly asks, can we build a life together on an ordinary Tuesday? Something like that. So the woman who won't settle isn't the woman who demands fireworks. She's the woman who finally recognizes peace as the actual prize. If this conversation resonated, everything we've explored across these 5 episodes now, 5, isn't really about relationships. It's about learning to trust yourself again. And that's exactly why I created Align by Design, which is a powerful initiation. And you can find all the info in the link below. And if you're just starting, you can receive my free, powerful 3-day resets. And this one is the gentlest place to begin. So as we close this series, I want to leave you with this. The healthiest relationship of your life might not be the one that gives you butterflies. Well, a little bit. But it might be the one that finally lets them land. The goal was never to find someone who makes your heart race. It was to find someone who lets your nervous system finally rest. The healthiest love you'll ever experience probably won't make your heart race. It will make your shoulders drop. And that brings us to the end of this series. 5 episodes ago, we started asking, who is the woman who won't settle? And I don't think she is the woman with the higher standards. I think she's the woman who finally stopped mistaking chaos for chemistry. She stopped chasing intensity. And she stopped romanticizing uncertainty. And she stopped apologizing for wanting consistency. And somewhere along the way, she realized that she wasn't becoming someone new. She was simply returning to herself. Thank you for being here through all the 5 episodes, genuinely, and welcome back to yourself.